Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Molten Truth. As you know, I'm your host, Zoe Michaels, a big fan of books and movies and people who are business owners. This season, we are focused on the music, although we'll still talk to writers and our entrepreneurs while we're at it. But I'm very excited to bring to you today Mark Anthony. No, not that Mark Anthony. This one does a different blend of music, but we're still very excited to have him. And Mark, welcome to the show. We can't learn to wait to learn all about you. If I can get over my tongue twister here.
Well, great. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on your show. Thank you. And I have to start out like you and I were talking before. I tell everybody as a joke, just to kind of break the ice a little bit. My name is Mark Anthony. I'm an independent recording artist on Iron Gate Records here in Nashville, which is an independent label. And I tell everybody, I'm the real Mark Anthony and not that other guy. So when people look for, of course, he's M-A-R-C, I'm M-A-R-K, but when people hear those two words together, they automatically think of the guy that
Yep.
was married to J.Lo. And I'll tell you a funny story that stemmed off of that. I've been on Iron Gate Records now, an independent label here for about almost 4 years. And the first year I was with them, I released my first single. I wrote all my songs. I write all the songs for my band. And the first single that I released was called Running Away. And Running Away is like it's a real cool pop rock kind of a song. My genre is Americana. And we always end my show with Running Away. Well, I was so excited to know that I was going to be on a streaming platform. I hadn't been my whole life. And I was so excited about my first single coming out. And I'm sitting in my truck and I dialed up whatever it was, YouTube Music or one of the streaming platforms. And here's my song. And it comes on and the title says Running Away. And then it says artist Mark Anthony. And while it was on the screen in my truck listening, there's a picture of the other guy with my song playing, right? And I looked at that and I said, "Oh no, we're not going to we're not going to do it that way." So I immediately called the record label and I said, "Hey, we can't do this. He's getting total credit for the
Yeah.
song that I wrote, right?" So we decided at that point to regroup a little bit. And so now we release all of my music, all of my singles can be found under my band's name as opposed to my artist name. So my band is called the Mark
That
Anthony
explains
Ensemble.
that.
And if people were to look up Mark Anthony Ensemble, they'll get all my singles. There's 12 of them out there, with the latest one being released now on a couple months ago, July 31st. Is a song called Always. So, so we changed up that game plan right quick because I sure didn't want his picture coming up
Well,
every time my
exactly.
songs
That's the
were
problem with having a
released,
name
right?
that already has so much fame
Yeah.
attached to it. On one hand, it
Yeah.
raises people's attention, but at the same time, it's the wrong attention.
Here's a story to go right along with that. Now that was just me listening to myself, right, in my own vehicle, excited about it. And so I knew we couldn't do that. But right after that, I got a request, um, similar to yours, but it was in the UK because my music is distributed not just on the American, music platforms, but I'm on, 80 plus platforms around the world because in Europe they have their own set of music platforms just like we have in the United States. And I got a request through the record label. They said someone in the UK wants to interview you on their radio show. And I said, "Oh, great. I'm so honored. Let's get it launched." So we got it all set up. We had the date and the time. What I didn't realize was that when the date came, they were 8 hours ahead of me, right? So I was expecting a call at, I don't know, maybe 8 in the evening. And it came up at 1 in the afternoon. And my phone said, it didn't say no caller or unknown. It said Spain on my phone. And I thought, whoa, we've all been raised that you never want to answer
Yep.
international calls, right? That can get you in a lot of trouble with billing and everything else. So I ignored it. And then the call came in right after that again. somebody was being presented, said Spain. And I thought, I wonder if this has something to do with that interview that I better get this call. So I answer the phone, right? And I hear this guy in broken English, and he says, Anthony, I'm going to try to emulate it as best I can remember. Mark Anthony, you're live on whatever it was, whatever his station was in Spain. I think it was Madrid. He says, you're live on this show. And I said, oh, thank you so much for calling me. I'm so honored, right? Uh, and right away, he starts in with the music questions. And he goes, let's get right to your music. He says, in 1986, you had a song, and he names
Mm-hmm.
the other guy's song, the other guy. And I knew right away we were in trouble. And when he got done with this lead in, I said, no, sir, no, that's not me. That's the other Mark Anthony. And he didn't get it. I thought, we fix that and move on. But he went right into the next question, and he just glossed over it. He says, he goes, okay, well, Mark Anthony, in 1992, you had a famous song with, and he names this female singer that I did a duet with.
Yeah.
That the other guy did a duet, not me, right? And I let him get through it, and I said, no, sir, that's not me. I said, you're talking to Mark Anthony, the singer songwriter in Nashville, and I thought that'd clear it up. And there was this long,
Yeah.
awkward pause. And he comes back on and he goes, oh, so Mark Anthony, so you live in Nashville now.
Oh, he was
And
still confused. Oh.
that's, I said, oh, this, so I got out of it gracefully. We ended it. Thank you so much for having me. And then I called the record label and I said, please, in the future, moving forward, when people request an interview of me, please make sure they know which Mark Anthony they're speaking to,
Absolutely.
right? So I could hear them on the other end of the phone, the staff. They were all laughing, because I got confused. I should have just gone along with it, Zoe. I should have just gone along with the fact that, yeah, I was married to J.Lo, and yeah, we had a great life. I should have just
Could
left,
have made for a
but I
fun
did.
interview, just to
So
pretend to be the other Mark Anthony.
it was. It was, and needless to say, it was not that interview that I saved, the link to or
Yeah,
anything. I just
I
deleted
get you
that one.
though. It happens.
Yep. So, and it's been a
But
journey since
but
then.
but I can see it. That's I understand people who try to give their children very unique names for that reason, even though I detest my parents gave me a very unique name, not the one that you're seeing on the screen here. My parents put a completely different name on my birth certificate and I fought it for 50 years and I said enough
Uh,
and I'm going to go use this name from now on. And then I use a pen name, which is
there
Zoe
you go.
Michaels for my books and for my podcast. So I
Sure,
really struggle with
sure.
unique names. But if you're gonna be
Yeah,
in the public eye, there's a certain advantage to having a unique name, so you don't have the Mark Anthony debacle. Because
yeah. And there's lots of other Mark Anthony's. I mean, the bass player for in Van Halen's band was Mark Anthony. And if you do a search, right, Google search. Yeah, and if you do a Google, you just put Mark Anthony on Google, you'll get a huge laundry list of Mark Anthony. Some of them are musicians, and others are celebrities, others are actors, and all kinds
yeah,
of people. But yeah, so that's why we release all my music under my band's name, and we cleared up that confusion a couple years ago
absolutely, yeah.
for sure.
Well, and I think that was very wise. Still using your name, but then adding the ensemble to make it very crystal clear that that's what this music is. It's very specific to you, but it's still, very easy to differentiate it from Mark Anthony, who we've been discussing up until now.
Yeah, and there was a reason for naming it the ensemble as opposed to the Mark
I
Anthony
wondered
Band,
about
right?
that.
Which doesn't sound very original, number one. Yeah, it doesn't sound very original to begin with. And there's other Mark Anthony bands out there. But I wanted to name mine Mark Anthony Ensemble because I knew from the outset that the Mark Anthony Ensemble was going to be an evolution of players. It was going to start in one form, which when it started, it was very acoustic. It was actually me. It started originally as a duo. It was me and a brilliant dobro player here in the Nashville area, a guy that goes by the name of Johnny B. And Johnny B is just a child prodigy on the dobro, just incredible bluegrass background. And what it was we met years ago at songwriter nights, when I first came to town, and I learned his material, he learned mine, and we started to go around as just a duo, playing each other's music in songwriter nights. Well, years down the road, when I decided that I wanted to make this a little more cohesive as an act, it was the two of us, and then we added a cajon player behind us, right? Just playing some light percussion and shakers, and that kind of thing. And it started to, you okay?
Okay, it's back to recording now. It just had stopped recording. Um,
There you are.
are you with me, Mark?
I sure am.
Okay, yeah. Riverside had stopped recording suddenly, so it'll clean up with the AI at the end. So we'll fix that.
Okay.
But so you were saying, okay, so you were
Yeah,
explaining the ensemble and how you added the third guy
we
that
had
was
a
behind you
third,
with I
and
forget what
and now it
instrument.
started to sound a little bit more rhythmic, and then we added a bass player, and all of a sudden it started to sound like a band. And my dobro player fell ill. He had some health issues, and then he had to have open heart surgery, he had carpal tunnel surgery, and he couldn't play anymore. And I always wanted to turn this into the kind of band that I was more accustomed to as far as my musical roots, which I'm happy to discuss with you. We'll go into that. So I play electric and acoustic guitar, and I didn't
Okay,
have that opportunity to play the other guitar, electric in that format. So that opened it up to changing all the instrumentation. And now I got a full kit drummer instead of a cajon player. Full kit drummer. We already had a bass player, and I was a guitar player, and I added another guitar player who played both electric and acoustic with me. And now it sounded like the Eagles, right? And that's exactly
nice.
what I wanted to turn the band into, was more of a folk rock format, if you will. So
Yeah.
that was the first collection of players. The band's been in existence for 5 years now, and since
Okay.
then, players come, players go. Sometimes we lose people that go on the road with other artists. They're not backing me up anymore. They're backing up another artist. So I knew that that was going to be an evolution, this band. So we would replace one member and then the flavor of the band would change with changing musicians. And it always went up. It always, like, in other words, the quality of the players got better and better and
Yeah.
better. And as consequently, it made my music come alive. All the dynamics that are in my songs started to come out a lot more. And I would say currently I have the best compilation of players at the end of this 5 years than I've ever had before. I'm introducing a new bass player, as a matter of fact, on our next show on October 25th coming up in Cookeville, Tennessee. So I've got great players, and I knew that was going to happen. So I didn't name it the band. I named it the ensemble, knowing that it was going to be a moving target, if you will, because it definitely has changed from its roots when I started it, which was very acoustic, just acoustic guitar and dobro. And now what we do is a wide variety of Americana music. Of course, if you listen to my songs, they're not cookie cutter. Most bands, you listen to one song, you hear 10 songs. They all sound the
They all
same.
sound
They have the
yeah.
same instrumentation. We mix it up. So I play electric and acoustic. Sometimes my music and my band delivers a song and it's more rock than it is acoustic.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll put the electric down and the other guitar player will put electric down. We'll both pick up acoustics, sit down, and all of a sudden it becomes a real nice acoustic blend. And so we'll do that. And then other times it's electric and acoustic together. So what people really appreciate about the Mark Anthony Ensemble is at the end of the night, they get a lot of different flavors, rhythms, instrumentation changes, and it's similar to going to an Eagles concert. I use them as an example because I remember seeing them in the old days, And
Yeah.
sometimes, um, not Don, yeah, Don Henley, the drummer, would get off drums and he would come forward and he'd play acoustic guitar, and you'd have three or four acoustic players lined up, and then he'd go back on the drums. They'd pull up
Yeah.
the electrics and they would rock out for the next two or three songs. So we do a similar format, and that frankly is just hard to find in the music business anymore. Even if you go to a professional concert, no matter who you see, especially in the country field, you're pretty much going to see and hear the same sound for that set of that artist. And I like to
That's
mix it up.
largely true.
I do it, and it's part of the show. I mean, part of that is for showmanship, and it keeps the interest going. So people never know what they're going to get. All of a sudden, we pick up electric and we rock, right, for a couple songs, and then we put that down, and then the flavor changes to a samba kind of a rhythm, or a
Nice.
Jimmy Buffett kind of a islandy feel. And then we switch from that to something else, or we might sit down and do a real pretty picking instrumental, and then we go back to folk and rock together. So that's kind
Beautiful.
of my show, a description of my show.
Do you only tour in Tennessee, or do you ever step into Kentucky or other states?
I have gone to neighboring states. I have gone to and played in Alabama and Kentucky. The problem, Zoe, for an independent artist, not a mainstream country artist, right,
Hmm.
um, is that it is hard to get to other states and travel long distances and to be able to demand a fee that is deserving of that.
I get
Because
that.
when you're relatively unknown in the Americana field as an independent artist, you can't command the kind of money that will cover all those expenses. Because once you're
True.
talking about getting outside of let's say, a 250-mile radius, which is what I
Hmm.
set myself as maximum for the band. If you get outside of that, you're talking about overnight accommodations for four people, besides the band fee, besides a sound company that has to go with you. And then the costs just get more than what people can afford in their budgets. Right.
Yeah.
So to be realistic, I tour within Tennessee for now, until God in his infinite wisdom opens up another door where I'm able to do more. I would love to play, all over the Eastern seaboard. I'd love that. But,
Absolutely.
you have to be able to get enough of a fee to justify all those expenses. And that day's coming,
Absolutely.
frankly. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
believe
hope
in it.
it
It's
does.
coming.
If you're ever near
Thank you.
Cincinnati, I'm gonna be thinking to myself, I want to go to one of these shows. And I
Oh, I
live
would
near
love to play.
Cincinnati,
Oh
so I'm
gosh,
like,
yeah, up in Ohio, I would love to play up
sign
there
me
for
up.
sure.
And I may just have to get down to Nashville one of these days. It's been a while. Usually, when I'm in Nashville, I'm visiting friends and family, and I'm usually,
Right,
there just one day, and it's all about friends and family, and not about
sure.
having fun outside of friends and family. But
Well, if you
I
ever
may
get
have to
down
make
here,
room.
and this is for your listeners as well, um, on my website, markanthonyartist.com, there is a touring tab, and you
Ah,
click on the touring tab, and you can see all the places where we're playing next, and the details that go with it when you click on that, whether it be a ticket link or a free show or something like that. This time of year, things slow down, so I'm
sure.
not
Weather's getting
playing as many
colder.
shows now in the fall, as we get closer to winter, than I was doing in the summer. I was doing a number of summer concerts,
Hmm.
different series that communities have, and then they hire the band. Um,
Yeah.
we were on television. We were on our local NBC affiliate here in Nashville, Channel 4 WSNV. They have a show for local talent called Today in Nashville, and they have a wait list that is literally probably a year and a half long to get on that show. And I played on it for the first time 2 years ago. I appeared on there with the Mark Anthony Ensemble doing my current single at that time. And they liked the band so much, they asked me to come back this year.
There you
And
go.
that was in February. So since we played in February, of course, all of that exposure on television has just really catapulted the band. And I've gotten calls from people I've never gotten calls from before saying, hey, can you come and do a show for us? So we debuted at the Tennessee State Fair which is the
Okay.
largest state fair in the Southeast. We just made our debut in August and did an hour and a half show there. They've already asked us to come back for 2026. And the Tennessee State Fair, which is held in Wilson County, is absolutely huge. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people attend. It's on for approximately 2 weeks. So we were featured on the community stage this year, and we're going back next year. So, more and
Excellent.
more doors are opening up, and I'm just excited because, I've seen this evolution from the start. Whereas the guys in my band currently, they weren't here from the beginning, right? So I'm smiling just thinking about how far we've come.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have a unique vantage point because you were there. I mean, it's all started with you and your plans, and yeah, they just walked into something that was already a work in progress. So, but how
Yeah,
cool.
when you say it started with me, I purposely, to give you a little background of why I do this and what it's all about, Mark Anthony Ensemble. So I've been here for approximately 38 years in the Nashville area.
Okay.
And I came here
In Franklin,
specifically,
right? You're in Franklin,
well, not
Tennessee?
Franklin. I'm in Franklin, have been in
Okay.
Franklin, Williamson County
Okay.
for 10 years now. But out of
Okay.
that, when I first moved here, I moved to Nashville from the Northeast. I came from Connecticut originally
Oh, okay.
to move here, and with aspirations of becoming a country artist. And things were going pretty well in the first year or so. I was showing up at all kinds of songwriting nights. Before long, I had some people from BMI that were coming out following me, or they liked my music. They knew it was going to be different. It didn't exactly fit the country mold, but it was
Right.
country flavored, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of my musical influences, mainly from California in the 70s and 80s, which included definitely the Eagles, Dan Fogelberg, Poco, Loggins and Messina, Jackson Brown, James
Good
Taylor,
mix.
all those kind of influences mixed together,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
I like pretty music. I like structured melodic music, but I like rock and roll too. I grew up on all
Mm-hmm.
that. So when I came here, things were going well. I was working a full-time job in the engineering field. I had two careers. I had one in civil engineering, which I was in for more than 25 years. And then I went back to college, which is kind of a foolish thing. I went back to college at a very late age. I was almost middle age when I decided to go back to college and do something more creative with my life. And I graduated college for the second time when my oldest son was graduating high school. His dad was graduating college for the second time. And I became an interior designer because
Okay.
because of the music that was in it, I wanted to do something more creative because I'm a left brain, right, guy. and, um, and I did that for 12 years. So during that time, well, to get back to when I moved here, things were going well until my wife at that time became pregnant. I had no children when I came here. And when she became pregnant with Mark Jr., um, I decided, autopilot kicked in, and I knew that I needed to do what my dad did for me, and that was he was a hard worker, he was a great husband and a father, and I decided I don't need to be in the bars and clubs anymore, trying to make it in the music. I need to be home and be a dad and be a good husband. And I did a
Yeah.
very good job of that for the next 20 some odd years. And I literally disappeared from the music scene. And at that time, I had gotten on local television and then got on national television in a national talent search contest put on by Discovery Television, which at that time was like their equivalent of Star Search. They had 100 contestants from around the country. I was selected for Nashville, and wouldn't you believe it, out of 100 contestants, I came in, if I remember correctly, I came in first runner up in that contest. And I was
Yeah.
the only person out of 100 contestants that sang and performed an original song. Everybody
That's
else did a cover song.
significant.
Well,
Yeah.
what I wanted to do was I figured if I'm going to be on national television, I want to make a statement to the Nashville community, to the business,
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, I'm a new guy in town and I write songs and here's one of mine. I'm performing it on national television. Well, that's when I came home shortly thereafter, found out the good news that my wife at that time was pregnant. And that's when I
Yeah.
decided to pull the plug and do the right thing and do what my dad did. Like I said, I did
Yeah.
a very good job of that for the next 20 some odd years and disappeared. But I was writing songs all that time. And
Well,
so after
sure.
about 30 years, I stored up this incredible repertoire of material that wasn't going anywhere. And when the days came, when the kids were grown, that kind of thing, when your kids are grown, you know that one of these days they're going to leave the house, whether they're
Exactly.
17, 18, 35, right? And
Right.
when they left,
The project's completed.
yeah, and I had all this material. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to the days of the music business maybe are behind me, but there's still a lot of music left in me. So I decided to form the band, and the band was formed specifically with one goal in mind. It was formed to be a showcase band for all of my original music that I had been writing all these years in the
Yeah.
hopes that, well, what I call it is Mark Anthony Ensemble is, if you will, a live demo of my music. So
Okay.
instead of putting a demo record together and you drop off, in those days it was a cassette or a CD. This is a live demo. So when people come out, they hear my music and my songs and I'm performing it, but with a full band accompaniment instead of just, well, here's a CD, listen to it
Right.
sometime. It's a full band. And I love to perform. That's the other half of it. I don't just do this so that people can hear the music with a full band. I love to perform, and all my guys are great players. They're all Nashville cats and
Yeah.
great players. Um, and so we're still having a blast. I'm having a blast doing this. And, I've always been prepared that if God were to open up a door, I'm always ready to walk through it. And if he doesn't, and I keep doing what I'm doing, it's still okay because, like I said, I'm having a blast playing my music and I'm getting to do it my way.
See, and that's the best possible attitude. You're having something that you're enjoying, your audience is enjoying, and from a demo
Exactly.
standpoint, you have some person out in an office, who may or may not play your CD or recording, and they only have themselves as the audience, so they're only looking at their own opinions. But you have someone walk in and see a whole room full of people enjoying music, is a whole different perspective. But that is the way a demo should be
Yeah.
done. What does the
Yeah,
audience think? Who
exactly.
cares what you think? What does the audience think?
Right. And of course, my ultimate objective, even though I have cut and recorded, produced and wrote and arranged all these singles, and I'm proud of my records, but my hope is that someone, like passing the baton, if you will, someone out there someday, like shooting a flare up on the
Mhm.
Titanic. For the little
Yeah.
time that flare is up there, I'm hoping that someone is going to hear one of those songs and go, hey, that tune was awesome. I want to record that song. And so I'm hoping that one day, my songs are being played on independent radio stations, podcasts like yours, all over the country. Someday somebody's going to hear one of those songs and go, I want to put that on my album. I want my artist to cut um, Dance Until Dawn or whatever, Jukebox Rock in the House. And I'd love to hear my songs recorded by someone else on some other album. So, that's my ultimate goal. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Absolutely, which means obviously you've copyrighted your songs, which is something I've been learning
Yes,
from the indie artists I've spoken with. They're like, we have to copyright our songs so that that could
correct.
happen. You know,
Yep,
so
yep.
I learned a little bit from each of you as I speak with each of you. I'm like, oh, I learned this, and I learned that from you, and I learned this from you. But
Well,
the
I was
copyright
smart.
thing
When I
is
came to
important.
town, I'm a BMI affiliate songwriter here. So when you come to Nashville, if you're a songwriter worth your salt, you're going to be joining one of three of the music associations that collect royalties for songwriters, which is BMI, ASCAP, or CSAC. Those are the three, with BMI and ASCAP primarily the two big ones. And I got registered right away and formed my own publishing company within BMI. So literally every time I'm releasing a song, it's being published under me, under my publishing company.
Yeah.
And of course, if someone else were to pick up one of those tunes, I would share publishing with someone else who's got publishing under another label or a record label or publishing company. And that's the way it works. But that's okay because that's what eventually will happen on some of these songs.
Absolutely. Now, do you have any connections at all with the International Singer-Songwriter Association, or is that something separate from all of this?
It is separate, and there's more than one of those associations. Like there's the NSA here in Nashville, Nashville Songwriters Association, and it's mainly set up so that writers can get together and co-write songs together, which is a big thing here in Nashville. I'm
Sure.
not against it, not at all, because some of the greatest hits that are out there were done with cooperation and compilations between more than one songwriter, like groups of
Mhm.
people, sometimes two or
Yeah.
three people. Um, I have never really done it that way, only because, uh, a lot of songwriters are strong in one area or another. They're strong lyrically or they're strong instrumentally, and that's why they co-write together so that they can combine all that and come up with one song. I do it all. All my songs are, I write the lyrics and the music and perform it. So I've never really seen the need for me to get together and try to translate and communicate what I'm thinking to someone else. I can't imagine that being done because by the time I figure out how to do that, I've already written another song, right? Lyrics and music. So I do it all together. And, I'm not saying that's the best way to do it, but that's how I've done it. That's Mark Anthony's
Sure.
way of doing it. Yeah.
Sure. So all the songs that Mark Anthony Ensemble does, you've written yourself. Has there been any collaboration at all from the other I'm sorry, I'm using the word band, but from the other members of your
Yeah.
ensemble, have they had any input into the music at all, or are they just happy to play along to the music you've created?
Yeah, that's a great question because, well, to answer it very succinctly, no, they haven't. But my band members are so good. Now, they only come so close to what I'm hearing up here.
Hmm.
And when I write the songs,
Right.
I hear all of the parts. I hear the harmonies, what the guitar should be doing, what the drums should be, that kind of thing. So I can explain it to them and I can play it and they'll get as close as they can to what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
But when I record my songs, literally I go in the studio with studio musicians because those guys they're a different breed. What they do for a living is different from what my guys and my band do. And my band, not any discredit to them, they're all great players and they do a great job in the live show. But in the studio guys can hear something and you don't have to tell them anything. Literally, they already know exactly what they're supposed to do. And my records, I mean, some of those are about as close to perfection from what I heard when I wrote it as what was recorded. So I'm very pleased
Amazing.
with the last six of my songs. The last six were done professionally. The first six were done almost more in a home recording studio setup, and they're fine. They're out there. But the last six songs, which I'm about to put on my first EP, which is going to come out, called Exodus. It's going to be a six-song compilation, starting with "Take Me Down Slow," in order of the way I released them. "Take Me Down Slow." Then the next song was it was Jukebox. I'm sorry, no, "Take Me Down Slow." Then it was "For You." Then the third song was "The Mystery." "The Mystery" is the only contemporary gospel song that I have recorded and released around Christmas time a few years ago. And then we did "When Will You Come Home Again," very Jimmy Buffett-ish, sort of. And then I did "Dance Until Dawn," which is a pure rock and roll song. And then the last one that just came out is called "Always." And "Always" is a real pretty song with beautiful acoustic piano in it, slide guitar, three tracks of acoustic guitars, and 3 and 4 part harmonies on it. And it came out beautifully. So those last six are what I'm going to master. At this point, I have to do some mastering, and then I'm going to put it on a CD called Exodus. Again, synonymous of a journey, right? Exodus is the second book of the Bible, and it's all
Mm-hmm.
about a journey. So
Right. True.
that's what I'm going to name my EP, and it'll be. I'm working actually with a lady starting tomorrow. We're going to start discussing artwork and layout and all that stuff. So that's coming. They're out there as singles, but this 6-song compilation, people will be able to get the CD and open it up and see all kinds of pictures, and they'll be able to read the credits for each song, who played what, what the recording engineers, because I want to make sure I give credit to every musician that played on my records, because they made those songs come alive. Yeah.
Absolutely. The more I speak with musicians, the more I realize, there's already a personal investment when you are writing the songs. You're already personally invested in this song. You've created it from from your life, from your experiences, from these ideas in your head. So there's that emotional and artistic investment in this song. But then with the indie artists especially, there's also the time and the money spent in the studio to produce this song, and then you
Oh yeah.
hope that it gets played enough that maybe you get a return on your investment, and realizing that having the shows in person, those are going to be the most return on your investment because people actually paid to get into the show. But you know have you ever had a song where you have not broken even, at least broken even at bare minimum?
I would
Is at
say
that.
every single one of them. Every
Yeah.
single one of them. And there's a reason for that. I mean, I have to say I'm blessed. I'm blessed financially that I can do what I do, um, and be able to cover those expenses. And I do it partly because this is for my own enjoyment too. Whether it
Right. It's
pays
a labor
off
of
or
love.
not is really secondary to me. When I play a show, of course, we all make money doing that. Um, I sell merchandise at our shows. I have Mark Anthony Ensemble T-shirts. Does it cover the cost of doing a recording? No, it's probably a drop in the bucket, but it's okay because, I'm doing this for me too. And I've always been a perfectionist in that area when it comes to music. And whatever it's going to cost, of course, I don't have endless resources and I can't, spend $50,000 on a song, but to do it right, if it requires a little bit more, expenses on it, I want to make sure when it comes out that I'm happy with it first as the singer songwriter. And when I am, whatever that cost may be, um, then I'll make sure that I get that covered. I have several people since the band's been in existence that are interested now in backing financially more and more of my projects. So
That's
the
good.
next step after this CD, because a lot of people are listening to CDs, I'm going to get this done so that I can basically sell them at shows, or even hand them out as business cards. What my next step is, I'm going to be doing a vinyl with those same 6 songs. It will be maybe a 10-inch vinyl, different colors, yellow, red, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
that'll make more of a splash in the music business than having a CD. But we're
And
going to
why
do it
is
one step
that?
at a time.
Is it
Because
because
that's
it's
what
the
people are
debut
going
time?
to. No, that's, there's a trend back when probably you and I were growing up, right? We had albums. I've got
I
still
remember
a collection of
those.
albums. Some of those I have
Yeah.
never even cracked open yet. I haven't even cut them open. And we're coming back to that now. Turntables and vinyl records are coming back as kind of a big fad. Have been for quite a while. So, I'm going to be making a vinyl. Yep. Yep.
Do you know why
And
that
now
is?
you can
I'm
get
just
them
kind
in
of
different sizes.
curious. Because I,
Yeah.
I remember like the big records and the smaller
Yep.
little records.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
45s, and the big
yeah,
records were, I think, 12-inch. Now you
I
can
think
get
so.
10-inch vinyls, which are
Yeah,
kind of cool because you can pack them in a bag, maybe a little easier than a full album. And that's what I'm going to be doing is I'll probably do a 10-inch vinyl and make them
yeah.
some cool colors. Instead of that, you and I were growing up, we had just the black albums, right? They were just
That's what
black.
I
Now
remember.
you can get them
And just
in.
having
Now
knowing
they're
like
clear.
exactly where to stick the needle just to get to the song, and somehow we knew where exactly where to put that needle just to hit the song just
Yeah.
right. How did we manage to do that? I don't know, but we had it down.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, with a cue stick and all that stuff. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so that's the next step after the CDs. I'll do a vinyl.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank goodness we're not going back to 8 tracks though.
Oh gosh.
That'd be too
Yeah.
far back. The
Yeah, I'm
vinyls I
going to
can
date
see, but the eight
myself.
tracks, whew.
Yep. I remember. I remember when the
Absolutely.
first one would unravel inside your car player, and that was it.
Mm,
That was it for that one, right? You pull it out, and it's just endless tape.
that's true. Because once it was done, it was done. There was no coming back
That
from
was
those.
it.
At
That's
least the
right.
cassettes, you stood a fighting chance of getting it back together to
Yep.
some extent. But
If you had a
yeah, those
pencil
eight
with an
tracks.
eraser at the end, yep, that's right.
Yeah,
If you
man,
had a pencil with an eraser at the end, you had a chance, right?
exactly. Oh boy, that brings back some serious memories. But
Yep.
as we're getting ready to wind down, because our time has gone by so quickly here, but I wanted to give you a chance to make sure that I know we've got markanthonyartist.com where people can also find out about Mark Anthony Ensemble, and I think there's like a link tree. There's a link to that where it goes to all your music everywhere. That's right.
Right. And other social media sites because the band's on Instagram, Mark Anthony Ensemble. We have an Instagram site. I am on Facebook, but the Facebook site, I'm having some problems getting to that Facebook site. I have to probably create another one. It's out there, but it is not updated with current information on the band. But there is one that exists. We're on LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn. You can find the band on bandsintown.com, which is a popular site. We're on bandsintown.com. Of course, my music is on SoundCloud um, as well as, like I said, all the music platforms. So basically, what people need to know is, and they can contact me if they want to contact me, which I love reading, emails that people send in. There is a contact tab again on the website. So the main things you need to know is website, learn all about the band, learn about my bio, my background. Some of the things we talked about today in greater detail can be found on markanthonyartist.com. If you click on the About tab, you can read all about my background and you can read the biographies of the bios of every one of the guys in my band and look at their pictures as well. And then there's the tour
Great.
tab. There's a merchandise tab, which shows all the t-shirts. I've got different colors. We've got the Mark Anthony Ensemble logo, small one on the front and a large one on the back. Um, and then there's an EPK tab, which I use for people that need to hire the band, that need technical information, our
Okay.
stage logistics, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a great website. And then to find the music, of course, there's links on the website, but to find the music on any of the music platforms, just go to type in Mark Anthony Ensemble, whether you're on YouTube Music, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, iTunes, Mark Anthony Ensemble, and all of my 12 singles will come up.
Sounds good. Now, I just want to reiterate for our audience this is Mark with a K, not a C, when they're looking at markanthonyartist.com and
Thank
Mark
you,
Anthony
Zoe.
Ensemble. No problem. Just really wanted to emphasize that because not everyone is going to be able to see the video. Some of this will be audio for some of our audiences. So, as we get ready to close down, we always have a random question from our previous guest. Our previous guest, who came to us from Adelaide, Australia, he
Ah,
left the question of if you could live on another planet, same conditions as Earth, everything's just the same as Earth, purely based on the name of the planet alone, what planet would you choose? So just about the planet's
is
name.
wow. You know what? I guess I would have to say Mars, only because there's so much activity right now with people like Elon Musk, and SpaceX and all that, and they're talking about it maybe being partially inhabitable. And that intrigues me. I've always been a sci-fi buff. So that already intrigues me. And even though I think we're a ways from that, or from having a colony, I would have to say Mars. Yeah.
Okay,
Because I think
okay.
that's the next greatest frontier in space exploration.
Yep, yep.
So there's
Well,
my
that's a
story. I'm sticking to it.
it works. It answers the question, and at least it wasn't the other planet that he and I were joking about would be the crude answer. So he had said his answer would have been
Oh
Saturn
gosh.
because he liked the rings, but there were so many possible answers of planets. So Mars is a good
Yeah.
safe answer. But it was an interesting
Now
question.
I have a good question for you for your next artist, if you're ready.
I'm ready. Yep, I'm ready.
Okay. So Zoe, we all go through this. We all go through different seasons of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seasons
Yep.
come, seasons go. Sometimes we're in the valley.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we're on the mountaintop. And most of the time we live somewhere in between. So my question would be, what season of life are you in currently?
Okay.
And they can talk about that, whether it's a bad one, whether it's a low point, whether it's a high point.
It's an interesting question, but it also reminds me of that song. Ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough.
Yeah, there you go.
That's where my mind went to when I was here. I mean, that reminds me of that song. But I'm showing my age there, right? At any rate, it's been fun
Comes,
talking to you.
thank you. Yeah, same here. That song comes from the soundtrack from Remember the Titans with Denzel Washington. And that's one of my
It doesn't.
favorite movies of all time.
It doesn't predate that.
Yeah,
I could have sworn it predated that
it
that
does.
that
Oh yeah,
movie.
it certainly does. Oh yeah,
I was
it
gonna
certainly, it
say.
way predates it. But it was in that movie and they did such a great job of putting that in with the football theme, and all that stuff. Yeah, I love that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
That's just an aside thing.
Nothing wrong with that. But I'm with you with the sci-fi. I love the sci-fi, and I'm more of
Mm.
a Star Trek kind of gal. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
definitely love the
same here.
sci-fi. Yeah,
Same here.
could go into that. Anyway, it's been so nice talking to you. If you'll hang on after we stop the recording, I'll have some additional information for you. But we're going to go ahead and close out the recording now. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. God bless you.